where were your parents during this situation? You have siblings as well?
Yeah, I have 3 sisters. And so they were in Virginia, and they got the call that no parent ever wants to hear.
Yeah.
Talking about your son in past tense. They get called in.
Whoa.
Yeah. Hey, what was Gabe like? We found his body. He's in the ER. You need to come now.
Wow.
When they got there, even a nurse asked my mom verbatim, did he even write a last will?
Those were some of the first words they said to them.
Well, the first words were, we got this body of a 20-year-old,
Right.
not non-responsive. You need to come now.
Mm. And
And then when they got there, they were talking about me in the past tense. Did he write a last will? I was in the ER, then the ICU. It was one of the most intense situations.
dang. Whew, man, that's crazy. And so you knew the Lord, right? You were obviously, like, I've been following you online for a while now. And so you were sharing about Jesus. You had a deep faith in Jesus. And then you have this moment where you encounter Jesus.
Right.
Take us a little bit into your upbringing, a little bit into like how you met the Lord, and then how that got shifted, your relationship with the Lord from this encounter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd grown up in a love my mom and dad, but it was a little bit of a chaotic house, and church wasn't specifically anything I wanted to be a part of. Faith, I would kind of laugh at, truthfully, especially in my middle school years.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into high school, though, I remember actually I was just by myself listening to a podcast, and I actually started to really just dive deep into Jesus, and I really became born again, just got off the fence in life, and I did commit my life to the Lord in high school specifically, December 12th, 2015, my freshman year. So I really started, exploring the Word and faith. However, there was over those next years, and I love podcasts, I love learning about the Word, but I really did explore a lot of knowledge and less encounter, less personal relationship. And so at the time when I was 20, I had been on social media, I was super flamboyant and, running up to the camera, and it was great. I was winning souls. It was great. But actually there was a lot of misconceptions, and I'm not going to say, that I was totally off, but there's just actually a lot of corrections that actually came from my encounter. And
right. Yeah, that's so funny you mentioned that, because
people even told me, like, you're very different since your encounter.
I was just about to say that. So
Yeah.
like when I met you for the first time, a couple of weeks ago, you popped over, and I had remembered you from like TikTok days,
Right.
Back probably when you were about 20.
Yeah.
And I think flamboyant's a good word. Like you were just an aggressive in a way,
Yeah.
like very like, right at the camera, like you're going to hell. That was the vibe that I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
Or like the whole stop scrolling. Yeah.
Stop scrolling. Yeah. It was like, and we all did it, right?
Of course.
Like
yeah.
in the early TikTok days, we all tried the weird stuff,
yeah.
And we all tried to be David Ladding back in the day, right? Everyone's copying David Ladding back in the day. Shout out David Ladding.
Love
One of
that
my
man.
homies was on the phone with him last night. But that was my perception of you, if I'm being totally honest. And then I met you in person. I've seen some of your newer stuff. And then when I meet you in person, I'm like, wow, this guy is just very humble and kind and meek and mature. And so it does feel like there's been a switch in you. And it sounds like you're attributing that to your encounter with Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because I discovered even after we come to the faith, man, it's so easy to just work up our own list, and we can get so consumed with ourselves. That's what I discovered, because, man, at the time of my accident, everything was perfect. I didn't have a fear. I didn't have any. I never would have expected I would go through such an accident right then and there, and I would literally be brought. I would be brought to such an end. Yet it wasn't an end. I found it was the end of me, but it was the beginning of Him.